Hello everyone, and welcome to the introduction to subqueries. In this video, what we're going to do is introduce the concept of a subquery, what it is, and the different types of subqueries. For this particular course, we're not going to dive too deep into the whole concept of subqueries. It's sort of an advanced topic and can get very advanced very quickly based upon what it is you're trying to do. However, we want to make you aware of subqueries because they're very powerful and they add a whole nother, what do you want to say, step or opportunity, I should say, in regards to what you can do with a SQL statement. So what we're going to do is talk a little bit about what they are, and what different types there are, and then kind of come back and kind of show you, give you some examples, some simple examples of using subqueries, and ones that you can actually practice here in your assignments, and make sure you're at least aware of what a subquery is, and then hopefully then you can take this knowledge and build upon it in the future. Okay, so what's a subquery? A subquery is a query that is nested inside a select, insert, update, or delete statement, or inside another subquery. Yeah, you can have subqueries within subqueries. I have seen some very complex ones, ranging from hundreds of lines in my career. I'm not sure they were actually good, efficient queries, but boy, they were large. And the people that wrote them were very proud of themselves, I will tell you that. However, if you kind of look at this right here, here's a query that's actually stuck into a select statement. So as you can see, in this case here, we got a query, which we're going to bring back the order ID, the order date from sales order. However, internally here, the inner query, if you will, the inner query is also going to bring back a column called max unit price that is the max. It's sort of interesting because in this case here, they're using an aggregate, yet we're also bringing back other pieces here that we don't have to worry about grouping them, that aggregate by. Does that make sense? So this is kind of a neat little way of doing that if your query requires you to do something like that. Again, you're not going to write these right now. I'm going to show you what you're going to write a little bit later on. But with that said, this is kind of what a subquery is. So in terms of definitions, this is considered the inner query, okay? And then the one outside of it, the first one is considered the outer query. How these work, basically the inner query runs first, and then the outer query runs from there. All right? Subqueries can be used in several places within a query. Here's another one, a from statement. All right, so in this case, we're selecting we're doing a subquery to actually bring back and select a result set of which is going to be representative of our table for this particular query. So they can be in a from statement also. First, the database runs the inner query. I'm repeating myself here. The inner query, the part between the parentheses, okay? Once the inner query runs, the outer query will run using the results in this case. This happens for every subquery. The inner query always runs first, something you want to remember. All right. Here's one in the where clause, where we're saying, as you have seen from the select, you can have a subquery in a select clause and the from clause, but we can also use subqueries in conditional logic, which basically are where clause, where date equals the minimum date from this query. So that might be relevant. We sit back, we have a query, go find the minimum date based upon these tables, and then go select something based upon that answer. Once again, you're not going to be doing these right now, stuff like this, but for the most part, hopefully you just get an idea how subqueries can actually work. You can even join a subquery to another table. So in this case here, we can have a table, and we're going to join it to the result set of this particular query, this inner query here. We can do that. All right. As mentioned, you can do a subquery on an insert. I just kind of gave you the layout here. This comes into to me, this comes into play when you have a data conversion type project to do, meaning maybe you just enhance the project and you enhance the entire database. But this database has been around for a long time. But now what you need to do is actually go get the data from the old database and put it into the new database. And so in this case here, you can insert into a new database or new table and select it, and you can select all the values from an old database, or old tables, I should say. So you can do them with selects. You can do them with updates. You can have a select statement on the where value here based upon your update, very similar to what we just seen with the select statement and the where clause. And finally, you can do them in delete. Same type of thing with the where clause. All right. Once again, these are this is just the concept. The concept of using subqueries can be very advanced. They can get really out there, and I believe you'll get there someday. And especially when you hit the industry and start doing things, and you'll start recognizing how to start writing these more and more and more. The key is one step at a time, just like anything when you're writing software or software code or queries and so on. Take one thing at a time, know what it is you're trying to get, and go from there. To me, they kind of make it, writing SQL fun, especially when you get stuck on how can I get this data back. So for the purpose of this course, we just want to introduce them to you, nothing more. In the next video, we'll look at subqueries that only apply to the where clause of the select statement for the particular purpose of bringing back a certain row, and something similar to the outer join. That's all we really want to cover in this course with you. Hopefully you'll see how these work and then be asked to try them. Hopefully it'll be a good introduction, and it'll leave you asking for more and want to understand more about subqueries. And of course, the internet, there's tons of information out there on subqueries, and I welcome you to go Google them and learn more and more about it. Once again, there's a lot of things out there on SQL. If you actually went out and bought an SQL reference book, it would be about 2 inches thick. So far, we have covered quite a bit of it. There's no doubt about it. If you go out to W3 Schools and look at the list on the left-hand side of everything regarding SQL, you will see that we covered a majority of those at that list. However, there's a lot of advanced topics, and we hope to cover that throughout the curriculum or expose you to them throughout the rest of the curriculum. Yet, we can only do so much in one course, and you don't want to get overwhelmed. And a lot of those advanced topics, you're going to use that 1% of 1% of the time in the industry. The things we have taught you in this class, for the most part, you're going to use that 99% of the time. All right? Anyway, that's our video on subqueries. The next video will show you how to apply a few that you can actually try.